right. You had a bit of a journey to uni today.
Yeah, I like drenched because when I left White City, it was pouring, and then that's when I texted you, and then from like getting to Notting Hill was fine, but then the Circle Line had like severe delays, so I got that one, and then when it came, and then it stopped at like High Street Kent for like 10 minutes, and it was anyway moving really slow, and I was like, just kill me.
Yeah, I've been there. I once was in a bus for 1.5 hours when the
Oh,
journey normally takes place in 20 minutes.
that's
And but now it's sunny out. Can you believe it?
and I just walked. It's like damn cold.
And I know 5 minutes ago it was cold. Now the sun is out.
Shut up. It's like it's more moody than me also.
I
But
think that's why this is why people love to talk about the weather in London because it is so
talking about the weather.
dynamic.
Oh, I checked the weather. It's supposed to rain all week, and I'm like, bro, I don't even think about this. Like, I should start. Like yesterday I was out somewhere, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's gonna rain the whole week," and I was like, bro, like, I should really start checking the weather. Like, back home we don't check the weather. Like,
Yeah.
it's not. I never bother.
Yeah, that's what my friends, once I came here, told me the first thing. I was like, should I wear a sweater today? What should I wear?
Yeah,
But just check the weather. I said, but I can see outside now.
yeah. That's what
It's
I'm like.
normal.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to only talk in English, no?
What?
Am I supposed? What are the rules of this thing? Can I? Yeah.
The rules of this thing is that there are no rules.
Okay. No
Yeah.
bullshit. Your entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. I have to say, I just tweeted this out and I put a post on LinkedIn as well. I thought your website is so genius. You know what? As soon as I log in, it
Yeah.
asks me, did you come up with that idea for having a playlist of songs in the background?
Yeah.
I was bowled over by that. And I'll tell you why. Because I just wanted to check out the site and your social media before we started recording this. And I went on the site and I just selected some random song and it started playing. And
Yeah.
then as I was going through, the song changed. And it turns out I really like the two songs that played. And so I just left the tab open and I started doing some other work. And then a third song came on, and then a fourth song came on. And it's been 30 minutes. And 2 seconds before you texted me that I'm joining in, that's when I stopped. That's when I closed the bar. And that is like such a genius marketing move. I don't know. I've never seen this in any other site.
Well, for me, it's like about like creating a customer experience, right? So there's so many times that how like when you're in like a restaurant with good music, you enjoy the food more. So when I'm in a store with good music, I'm like, no store plays like active songs that you can sing along to, but like just a good melody in the background, I'm vibing more. I'm like, it has a direct effect on my mood. And so that's where I came up with this idea where I was like, why can't online shopping also sort of have this experience wherein you're just like relaxed and you're like it's pajamas, so you need to be relaxed and you need to be just having fun, and it was about creating a customer experience. So that's where I came up with that from. And what actually ended up happening was that the interaction, like what you said, the interaction on our website really increased. So the duration for which one user spent time on the website increased marginally, just because, and this was like, I know it was attributed to this when I added the playlist, because it was right after that I saw the
Yeah.
state in the data. And then like because of that, even sales increased, because naturally if people are spending longer on the website, they're more likely to purchase something as well.
Exactly. Which is why I think this is so genius. Why aren't people doing this? The first thing I thought was this reminds me of going to a store in a mall, that in-store experience where there's some nice music playing, and you sort of take it for granted. But why hasn't someone thought of sort of replicating that online?
Yeah, that was the idea. So even like in store, if you notice, like it's your senses that they play with. So obviously the alignment of how like all the products are displayed. Then there's like fragrance, the stores that smell good, you want to stay there longer,
Yeah.
particular smell, and then there's the music that they play. So it's all like part of the process. It's nothing is unplanned, like nothing is a coincidence when you walk into a store. And
Yeah.
so what like inspired me to look into that for online, where I was like, why can't we create more of an experience than just a a website with a good UX design?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I really was that it I was speechless after visiting the site. I
So,
loved the idea so much. What tell me about your idea and like how do you we skipped to the end.
yeah,
We didn't even start talking about like
in
what
the middle.
what is it that we're talking about. We didn't even introduce you, Sahaj, or your idea. So for the 5 listeners, by the way, that watch this podcast, I should tell you that Sahaj and I are in the same cohort at Imperial. We're studying innovation and entrepreneurship. And Sahaj, you started this website, this e-commerce brand called Jammies
Yeah,
in the lockdown, right? Yeah.
correct.
So why don't you just tell us about that? How you came up with it, what happened, and how did you build it?
Well, Jammies really just came up with like customer frustration. Because when the lockdown happened, I was doing my undergrad degree at the time,
Yeah.
and obviously the amount of time I spent at home increased. And now I've always been this person who, like, when I used to go to like high school or even to when I used to go to high school or even to college, I would come back home and change into my pajamas directly. Like, I never had clothes that I would wear, at home normally that weren't pajamas.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna like stop talking when there's noise just so that you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So I never had clothes that weren't pajamas that I would wear actively at home unless someone was coming over or something. And I was always someone who didn't want like boring pajamas. I just didn't want to wear like plain colors or stripes or like, the really basic pajamas. It used to irritate me. I wanted like, fun cartoons or like cute prints or something that would make me smile because like it's pajamas. So it was fun in my head. So now in India back home, I started noticing that like I would source these from like local markets where there was export left over. So that's where I'd get them from, and it's sort of like experiment with them and bargain and get them at a cheap price. And obviously they wouldn't last as long, but it was easy access. So I could go like once in 2 months, pick up my stock for like 2 months and then throw them out and then buy more. But when COVID happened, the market shut. So now I don't have pajamas, but I'm spending more time at home to actually have more like demand for them.
yeah.
So sitting around cribbing and I'm like, I can't find pajamas online. I want my kind of pajamas. What the hell? Why does no one make these pajamas? Blah, blah, blah. And like then my dad was just like, this is over dinner. And I was like, listen, I'm really struggling. I want pajamas. I'm dying right now. So then my dad was like, why don't you just make them? And then I was like, what do you mean make them? Like, I don't have any background in design, in fashion, in retail, in textile. Like, I don't have any knowledge about this. How can I just make them? And he was like, I mean, you always wanted to do your own thing. So make them, like, work on it, figure it out, start thinking about it. And it was like he was right. I've always wanted to do my own thing. And when I spent more time on the idea of okay, making my own pajama brand, it sounded really like my first reaction was, oh my god, this is going to be so fun. I'm going to have a pajama brand at 20. Like I was more excited about it.
Yeah.
But I actually did like user research. I interviewed more than like 300 people. I looked into the market. So the market was supposed to grow to around 27 billion by 2027. And so there was like a huge market potential. When I did user research, I saw that there is a gap in demand and supply, and people do want pajamas that are super comfortable but also like cute prints, and they aren't getting what they want. And then I also studied the market competition, and I looked at like the other brands that were out there in India specifically. And I found that there was one or two companies that did do cute prints, but I personally didn't like their material, like from my own usage, because I ordered. And then I obviously researched their customers as well, and I saw that there was reviews online where there was some certain complaints about the material. Not that it was bad, it was just not my choice, like not what I would have chosen, and not what a few customers would have chosen either. So basis that research that I did, I started working on, finding cloth that was already printed with cute prints in textile markets. And I'd go there and I literally spent 2 to 3 weeks there in those markets trying to find the right material and the right print. But there was always this dilemma that I had where the print was like nice, but the quality of the material wouldn't be good. But if the quality of the material was good, the print wasn't nice. And I just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then, I met 2-3 people who work in export houses in Noida and in Gurgaon. And they told me that they were like, here's the kind of prints and kind of material you're looking for. You're not going to find it. You're going to have to like design this, get it printed. You're going to have to start from scratch. So I was like, okay, that's something that now, like, again, another challenge because I don't know how to design. How am I going to do it?
Yeah.
And like my business plan was basically that I had like, access to local tailors. And I had the textile market where I could buy clothes from. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be like the middleman and sort of like source the material with the prints, get it stitched, pack it, and sell it. I never thought that I'd get into like manufacturing and all of that. But anyway, when she said that, then I said, okay, that's a challenge. But I at this point, I was really invested because I really, really saw that, there was potential in the market. So I started learning Illustrator. I self-trained in Illustrator. And I knew I always wanted these. One of my first designs was this like donut design, which says "Do not disturb" with like this like.
I saw that on your site. It's sold out, I think, now.
So loud. And that was like, that had been in my brain for really long, like that idea, because I was like, it's so cute, like "Do not disturb." Like, I don't know, it just fascinated me. That's like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So if you
That's
see
funny too. I would buy that. I would buy that pajama.
You buy it. Yeah. So if you see my first donut and you see where like the design that's actually on the website that was being printed, like the journey from that first one to the last one, I wish I could show it to you, was so interesting. Like the first one is like a 3-year-old's drawing on Illustrator, and the last one obviously looks half decent, I'd like to say, because it's my favorite one on the collection.
Yeah.
And it took me a while and it was really challenging, but I trained in Adobe Illustrator. And
Right.
then along that, actually, I was researching material. And I was going to factories and talking to manufacturers and, understanding the process, the supply chain. And what I actually did was I realized that if I do like a one-stop like factory, like if I just get everything done in one place, it turns out to be a little cheaper, but it's not like the quality gets compromised. And it's easier for me, obviously, because one person is doing everything, but the quality wasn't as great and it wasn't like up to the mark. So what I did was I chose like 5 different places that specialized in each process. So I sourced my cloth from somewhere, it printed in another place, it was stitched in another place, the finishing was another place, and the packaging I had taken over. And by taking over like the marketing, the packaging, and the designing, obviously I saved costs as well. So yeah, that was the entire journey. And then it was a women's pajama brand, so it launched on International Women's Day. And the launch,
I saw you had like 18,000 views on your reel
yeah,
you launched that day, right?
it was all organic views, and I got like over 16,000-17,000 in 24 hours, just because it just went viral. And I hardly had like 100 followers when this happened.
Right.
So that was very encouraging. And I think that like really helped. I sold out within a month, my first 5 designs. So
Wow. How much stock would that be?
that would be around like 400-500 pajamas.
Wow. Your first month. And this was back when? 2020 March? April?
I started 2020. So this whole thing from ideation to the first jammy being sold was a 10-month process. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, so I started like June 2020 and this launched in March 2021. Yeah. So
wow. And so hold on. How long did this run for? I think you're not actively running the business right now since you're here.
Like running right now because I shifted to London and it's hard to manage manufacturing from here. But it ran for like, I was selling up until July 2022. So
Right. Brilliant. How did you start doing your market research? You said that you interviewed like 300 people.
yeah.
So how did you find the right people? What kind of questions did you ask them? What were those initial days like?
Well, the questions were, I know that like I wanted to keep it like short but informative for me. So the questions were very direct, very filtered, like you're working from home, what kind of like clothes would you prefer to work in? Or like uh, what is your priority in terms of like nightwear? Do you like it comfortable? Do you like it chic? What are you looking for? So very like direct questions, and then there was a lot of like rate from 1 to 5 questions, because I didn't want any user to spend more than like 5 minutes on this question, because I knew that that's asking for too much. Beyond that, no one has the time today.
Yeah.
So the kind of questions that were there, and I found people, like I distributed this through like my network within SRCC, because my target audience going in my head was like young girls from 16 to 24.
Yeah.
So it was within my school network, my sister's network,
Yeah.
SRCC, the network there, the WhatsApp groups. And I think when you like Delhi University, when you're part of it, it's huge. So you have access to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, just through WhatsApp groups, through Facebook groups, stuff
All
like
right.
that. Yeah.
That's still amazing. Like 300 people took
I
out
mean,
5 minutes
I
to fill out a form. That's still, that I imagine that would give you great insights, right?
yeah, it did. It gave me everything that the brand was about. But it wasn't like I got those like immediately. I didn't get them like, as soon as I distributed the survey.
Yeah.
It took a while. Like I had to like actively keep posting it, reposting it. And then it was like, when you do something so much and it's so in your face that people are like, oh my God, let us just fill it. I became
Yeah.
that person because I was like desperate for information, because I knew that like you should never make a square peg for a round hole. You need to know your customer.
Yeah.
So that was my aim.
Right. And so what did you learn from those initial batch of interviews that you did, or feedback that you got?
Like I said, I learned about what my customer wants. So I saw that there was an increase in demand for loungewear because you're working from home or you're spending more time at home. There's an increase in demand for comfort. Comfort was like the number one factor for everyone across,
Yeah.
the user research. Like it was, I would say, easily like 87 to 89%. I remember had prioritized comfort over anything, over design, over brand name, over everything. Packaging, it was all about comfort when it came to loungewear, even more than price point. It was like, I'm willing to pay more if I'm more comfortable in my pajamas. And then I also learned about the fact that, how like pajamas, when you get them, there's these tags that are there at the
Yeah.
back that are really annoying. They like pinch
Yeah.
you. So I
Yeah.
had this box in the end, which was like any additional comments. And a lot of people wrote to me, or like they didn't know they were writing to me. A lot of people filled the form saying that that tag at the pajamas is very irritating, it's very itchy.
Yeah.
It's very irritating. So
Yeah. Right.
the fact about jammies is that there are no tags. But now, if there's no tags, obviously I want my label there, I want the size there, I want the print there. So it's all embossed. So it's this, I got this
Wow.
made, which is transferred from heat onto the pajamas, and they're embossed labels.
Right.
Uh, and that sort of dealt with that problem of there being no tags. So that was one of our selling points as well. So I think what stood out for us was like the embossed labels, the quality. Like I used to claim, and you could probably test it out one day when you see my product, that it's butterly soft
Yeah.
and prints. So combination of these three things.
No, I completely believe you. I mean, it's not like you've been sold out consistently for a very long time. That is a testament to the fact that it's a
Yeah.
great product. It's marketed extremely well. That's so amazing to me that you came up with that insight about
Yeah.
the embossing thing. That's You're right that a lot of times I buy a new pair of pajamas or jeans or whatever, and then some brands have this thing at the back, and you have to like really grip it off, even with shirts.
But when you rip it off, then also it's irritating because that little like rip that's there, sometimes that will also like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
so
It's just become a part of like life, something you won't
yeah,
even really notice. But
yeah.
then, yeah, I
I
guess,
don't understand why more brands don't do this. Like when I did it, I was like, why do not people do this? Like it's not that like it's not cost effective. It's not difficult.
yeah.
So why are people not doing this? I don't get it.
All right. I have to say, I'm a bit speechless by your entire process. I was not expecting such a rigorous methodology towards business. It's almost like you're a seasoned player, because what you say, like diversifying your manufacturing, going down to the source, finding the right raw materials, not like ensuring that you're not dependent on just one player. So you have 5 different manufacturers,
Yeah.
doing user research. These are things it took me like, I've worked in a startup for 4 years, and it took me 4 years to really, get these things in my head. And you're doing it right out of college. That's so amazing to me. I almost feel like you should be teaching the design thinking course here. You seem to have done the entire thing.
No, I don't know. I guess I was just like, for me, what like personally how it works is that when I'm passionate about something, I'm all in. If I'm not passionate, I will not be in. So I really, really was passionate about jammies. I really wanted it to do well. I really wanted to sort of deal with the customers' problems. I wanted to curate an experience. So I used to eat, sleep, dream of pajamas 24/7 when I was doing this company. Like that was the only thing on my mind for 2 years straight.
Yeah.
Um, like I was fully invested, and I think that that really sort of helped me keep myself motivated even when things went south.
Yeah. So what challenges did you face along the way? You said that, of course, it's not always going to be a uphill ride.
It's
So
never
what
an
what what things went south in this entire 2 year 2 year journey, right? Yeah.
yeah. Well, from the very beginning, like my plan was never to design. It started off
Yeah,
as
yeah.
like I'm going to source the material and get it stitched. That went south because I didn't find what I wanted to. That was very demotivating because I was like, it was frustrating because I was like, why isn't it there? And I at the time didn't think, that I could potentially design myself. It seemed very far fetched because I'm not a fashion student.
Yeah.
Um, then the next one was when I designed the challenges with designing, like I was telling you, like the first donut versus the donut that came out. I'm not exaggerating. It's like a 3-year-old's drawing versus what came out. Like it was so hard. And
Yeah.
studying constantly, and like design is so underrated. Like working on Illustrator, like we take it so for granted. Like when I walk into a store now and I see something that's printed and I like the print, I actually spend 2 minutes and appreciate it because I know how much like thought and effort it goes into that. Like in terms of the
Yeah.
color, like there's these things, I don't know if you know about them, Pantone colors. Um,
No, I don't. What are they?
Pantone colors are basically like this world accepted colors, and it's this book that comes out every year, which has like, I don't know even how many thousands of colors in them. Like there are like some 50, 60, 100 shades of red that you can pick from. And every shade has like a very, very minor difference. So
Right.
literally spending time and trying to like, find the right color because there's numbers to it. Because the printer will not know which color you have to have. So you
Yeah.
have to buy the Pantone colors, and they're quite expensive to buy as well.
Right.
You have to buy the color number, and you have to like say, okay, this, so like for example, my donuts had sprinkles. Now no one will look at my pajama and think that I spent like 3 days trying to decide the color of the sprinkles on the donut.
Yeah.
So just figuring out like color combinations, getting the design right was super, super hard, especially as someone who's not studied it. Um, for
I would.
making, yeah, so that was really hard. And then user research, getting to that 300 was not like jammies sold instantly because the marketing went well. But getting that user research, it wasn't like I posted the survey and I just got responses. I really had to like push people. I had to like find creative ways of posting it. I had to sell jammies before I even knew what jammies were going to be, because
Yeah.
I was, there's this pajama brand coming and we want your inside, and make it interesting. Like, where's my hook? The first thing that will catch the user's eye. Why would they
Yeah.
read my? So that was a challenge. I mean, it was a challenge through and through. Manufacturing was so challenging because I really, really struggled with like people meeting deadlines. If I worked with like export houses that manufactured in like thousands and 10,000s of pieces. So for them, my order was really, really small. Now because
Yeah.
it's really small, they would take it for granted. They would
Yeah.
be like, also like I was a 20-year-old girl dealing with 45-year-old men.
Yep.
And I had like a lack of knowledge going in.
Yeah.
So they knew that. So like I knew there were times in the meeting where I would just be like, they'd sort of, I can say this in Hindi. How do I say it in English? They'd
Might
like,
be condescending.
no, condescending, yes, but also like they would overwhelm me with information. And then I'd be like, huh, what? Like, and I knew that was intentional just to
Yeah.
tone my energy, because I'd walk in saying, okay, we need this done by this date and we need to
Yeah.
work to. And for them, it wasn't a very big order. And so it was really hard to gain their respect. So I had to really do my research going in because I knew that they can't give me information that like is false anymore. I realized that in the first meeting. I was like, okay, I don't know well enough. I need to like go back, know better about like the shrinkage of materials and like
Yeah.
the cloth quality and like how does cotton work? How does elastin work? What is it? Where is it sourced from? Is it natural? Is it, like all of those things.
Yeah.
The next time I went in, they couldn't just give me bullshit and fool me.
Yeah.
Like being firm about deadlines. I really, really, really struggled with that. I wanted to launch before Christmas, and I in March, so that was frustrating. Working in a male-dominant industry as a 20-year-old woman was such a struggle.
Yeah. Of course.
So those were all challenges along the way. I remember my first shoot went south. So we sort of did like because we were obviously on a budget, on a very, very tight budget. We hired a photographer who was also going to make the videos. But there was no one else. Like my sister and I modeled ourselves. I did the whole production. I did the whole direction. Like there was 5 different locations and I had like, set up the props. I had worked on it all on myself and I've never done a shoot before. But the first south completely, it was such a fail. And that was really, really demotivating.
What happened? Why did it go south?
It just wasn't what I had ideated in my head. Like I realized then that like,
Oh. So the video that we see, like that launch video, was that finally made by you then at the end?
It was edited by the photographer. She shot it. Like the production, the direction, everything, like props, it's all me. Yeah. Yeah. So I sort of like again, that was about customer experience. So then I thought, okay, what do I want? Like, what do I see my customers doing in their jammies? And that was the idea behind the whole thing. Like you're chilling, you're eating, you're, if you see you're having like girls' night in where you're relaxing with like eye masks and like getting ready. So good idea. So that was the second one. The first one went south, and obviously because we were on a budget, that was like really hard. We had to cut down everything, all the locations, everything. I had to like borrow like my friend's house, my room, everything was beg, borrow, steal. It was all jugaad. Like if you know what I mean.
I know. I am so fascinated by whatever you were saying. I know completely what you mean. You were talking about Illustrator. So I helped publish this book.
I can't do it.
You can't make out, right? It's you can see.
Yeah.
A little bit. Wait, I should place my face right here. No, it's not working. Anyway, I'll show it to you later. But you can see that this is a book that I helped publish. This is by written by the person in whose company I worked. He's a retired army officer. I think I told you about him recently, when we first met, at least.
Yeah.
And so we had no idea how to self-publish. We went through this entire journey of going to talk to people, going to figure out how do you get a designer to help you with, Illustrator and making a cover art, from how do you typeset a book, what is the type of paper that you require. So exactly the same process you went through in the publishing industry. And there would be times where I would go into a meeting and I would know stuff. So it's very important that you go for 5 meetings and you just say that this is my learning experience. I'm going to get laughed at in these meetings, and then the 6th meeting I take, I'll be a bit more knowledgeable. And that was about, so what you say is so true, that you have to be prepared for every single meeting. And that has become such an ingrained thing in me that even if I go to like a syndicate group meeting to discuss, like what should we be doing for our economics project, I still feel the need to prepare for a half hour before that. But I guess that just becomes ingrained in you, right? Because you've seen the market, you've seen that if you don't go prepared, that you get kicked by people.
Yeah, people just run over. Don't know the right. So like you have to be prepared, and you have to be over prepared, I'd say. Like not even, especially if you're going into a situation which is new to you, if it's not your strength. If it's like, for example, for me personally, I, like, my family, no one's done textile, no one knew anything about retail, textile, manufacturing, nothing. I have no background in that. So I didn't know anything, so I had to know more, because there's always extra people. I was working with people who'd been in this industry for like 25 years. That's longer than I've been alive. And so I had to research more, because they could say anything to me and I would have to buy it on face value. So you have to over prepare.
Dealing with these Indian SMEs in the textile industry, I have unfortunately a lot of experience, because I used to work in a similar field for the startup. And I was once made a fool of by one of them when I was just starting out. I was just out of college, and for 6 months he was like, haha, yeah, your material, we're making it, we're manufacturing it, it's going to come. It's going to come. And then after 6 months, everyone in my company finally lost cool, and they said, go down there and see what's going on. So I went down there. Turns out he wasn't doing my job. For the last 6 months, he'd just been saying, yeah, we're doing it. And then he was really not taking us seriously. And that was my first sort of realization that you have to be a bit of a bastard if you want to deal with the like manufacturers. Really, you have to be a bit of a bastard, and you can't be like, he's a good looking, honest looking man, woman, whatever, and then they will do what they say.
Yes, like, it's super smart. They will prioritize anyone who eats like their head. So if you're sending them text messages, that's an everyday thing for them. Like 20 other people are saying, are you working on our collection? And they're like, yeah. You have to really like know how to manage people. You really have to go down there and you have to just like stand and be like, listen, I need this done right now. Like, you really have to like get your guns out.
Yeah, and that's why at the end of my 4 years, I used to, if I used to go into a vendor meeting and if I was developing a relationship, I would straight away go and say, look, if you expect big business or big money from me, I can't give it to you. So if I can only give you something that is respect, and I would go on those lines, and I would say, look, if that is at all important to you, tell me, or I will leave. And I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time either. And somehow that seemed to always work, because they would be always taken aback by, why are you being so upfront? Of course, we want, even if you're a little bit, smaller, you'll grow in the future. So we take it on those good vibes path.
I used to work on that we're small right now, but we're going to grow in the future, and this is a growth. Like, I used to give them numbers and be like, this is the potential of the company. This is where we can go. And if you develop a good relationship with us right now, then this is where we could be in the future. So I used to work on incentives with my section. That's what I did, and that's what worked. The first one, learning curve, like, it was such a process. Manufacturing, like, I never knew like getting something done would take so much energy. Like for me, it was like I have paid the advance, I have given the order, now it should be done, you know,
Yeah,
by by the decided date. But it's never that. It's
if only.
yeah, it was so much like such a headache. But so
How-
like I manage people, you know, I learned how to deal with people.
Yeah,
If you can get like people who are like 25, 30 years older to you to listen to you, like then you know how to handle people. And but getting there was
for sure. For
yeah.
sure, yeah. And I would imagine that as hard as it was for me, it must have been so much harder for you because you don't see people like you're a 20-year-old girl, as you said, in a completely male dominated industry. You're dealing with male vendors all the time.
Yeah.
Only your customers are females primarily, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah.
And so it, of course, it would be daunting for anyone.
Yeah. It was.
What was the sort of, how did you get about, so you talked about your initial process of user research, you talked about how you started designing the products. How did you get about sourcing the materials? So you said that you went to a lot of places, you try and find raw materials for your brand, but then
Yeah.
eventually you decided to start printing for yourself and the
Yeah.
manufacturing. So like how exactly, where did you go, what did you find, and how did you eventually sort of find the right raw materials for you to start printing, and how did you even find the printers?
This was all through networking. It was all through like contacts, like where the markets I used to go to, I used to talk to the shopkeepers there because they were also supplying to the big export houses. So I talked to them and be like, okay, which ones are good quality, which ones are, you know, good exporters. And then I had like so many meetings before I picked the one for anything. But that's like for printers, there were very limited options actually. There weren't very many because I also wasn't because of the small quantity. It's not like I was sourcing it from anywhere very far away from Delhi. So it was restricted to Gurgaon, Noida, Dwarka, um, NCR essentially,
Yeah.
and because of that, the printers options were not very many. So I just went with the best, uh,
Right.
the one that had the market name, and then obviously like I had like samples coming in. So I had two, and I picked one basis of samples. Um, and for like the cloth is actually very interesting. So if you go to a mill where they're making cotton from scratch, they
Yeah.
have like quantity order of 500 kgs. Okay.
Right.
Now from 1 kg of cotton, you can make 4 pajamas.
Right.
500 kgs, you can obviously make 2,000 pajamas, which is way too much from what like I wanted.
Yeah.
And so that was very immediately like ticked off as an option.
Yeah.
I could have the material
Yeah.
made from scratch according to me. So I had to find material that was like someone's surplus, you know, some company's surplus, or like some export house. So export houses are great because they deal with like international brands, and they have so much leftover material. Like the amount of material that they have left over, like you can't even believe. Like it's in hundreds of kgs. So I discovered that when I had this conversation with one very nice man actually, who had like a cloth mill, and he would basically produce cloth. So when I met him and I was trying to be like, oh, I just want like 100 kgs of cotton for 400 pajamas, he like laughed in my face. He was like, do you know, like he was explaining the process to me, and he was like, minimum production, like it's not possible, like it's not going to happen. So I was like, so
Mm.
then where do I get the cloth from? Because you know, how would it work? So then he said, you know, you should go talk to export houses and you should ask them. They might have surplus. They will always have surplus,
Yeah.
uh, and you can buy that from them.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, cool. Uh, Let me go do that then. But that was also really hard because I was very specific in the material that I wanted. I knew that I wanted pajamas that was soft, but not pajamas that was so soft that when you wash them, they stretch out and they like deframe sort
Right.
of. So I knew like I had seen the different sort of variations in cotton elastane. in the export market. And I'd
Yeah.
seen the materials and I narrowed it down basis that, because I bought them. I actually bought like I had tried 90% cotton and 10% elastane, 97% cotton and 3% elastane, and 95% and 5% elastane. And I had bought all these materials and they were like plain white cloth, and got them stitched and washed them and, tried them, worn them, all of that. And I narrowed down on 95% cotton and 5% elastane because it was the most comfortable, but also like the most durable, lasted the longest. And then basis that, then I went to like export houses and I was like, do you have this cloth, this specific cloth?
Yeah.
So hard, like Shvagar, I can't tell you, because it was always like some variation was there. There was something ki nahi elastane is that much, or like some were like, the cloth was there. Like once I found like 150 kgs of this, 95% cotton, 5% elastane, but the cloth had like dirt marks on them that wouldn't come off. And obviously wash 100 kgs of cotton, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like a struggle, but then I just I kept going and I found it somewhere at one of the export houses and I bought it from them, and then they helped me sort of like cure the material before it went to printing.
Okay.
And yeah.
What's that process? You need to cure the cotton before it goes to printing.
Yeah, because you need to like make sure it doesn't shrink. So you remove it for shrinkage and all of that.
Right.
So it's treated chemically.
Yeah.
Then you get it printed. And printed, I did digital printing. There's like various kinds of printing as well. There's rotary print, there's digital print, there's like stamp and print where they just like stamp it on top. So now rotary print, again, orders have to be huge. It's cheaper, much cheaper, but you can't have a rotary print going in for 100 kgs, 150 kgs. You have to do 500, 600 kgs. Huge machines. You see them, they're massive machines, and the cloth is like being printed in bulk.
Right.
So then I had to narrow down on digital print. And I used to have like prints come in, like samples come in that were like 1 meter wide with like different squares of the same print. So it was like A, B, C, D, E, or different options of variations of like, the strength of the color in digital print. And the thing with digital print used to be that because my designs are pigmented, because there's so much color on them, sometimes it would smudge. Sometimes it was, this was one of the challenges. I completely forgot. One whole design feeling a little crabby, my pajamas. Whole of had this orange, the crabs on them are orange in color. It was smudged. Like 25, 30 kgs of cloth, completely smudged. And then it was a battle like that. Like it was a whole negotiation trying to convince the factory that it's their fault and not my fault. And I'm not going to bear the cost for this because you're giving me a product that's not okay. That doesn't meet the standard, obviously, because the print was smudged through and through. And it was what happened was, actually, this was one of my learnings. This print was going directly from the printer to the stitching factory.
Right.
Have a check in between, because I did, that was not something that I attributed for. And so the crab print was stitched. I had like 100 pieces come in, and they're all spoiled. And obviously, like the the tailors that were working on them don't know if it's fine. They're just like blindly like doing what they're told, the size. And so it was such a struggle getting my money back and getting it reprinted, because obviously now the quantity is even smaller. Getting that cotton, just no, it was like 25, 30 kgs.
Yeah.
It's even.
I think strong processes in manufacturing is so important. That's also like one of the biggest, like there have been so many screw ups that even happened in my company because someone dropped the ball here, or there was a process we did not think of. Sorry, you were saying something.
Going back to the design process. So then I just shifted, because I remember that this was such a that was a huge, and it was very demotivating because I was so close to launch, and then like you get product, you get 100 kg 100 pajamas. So then design happened, like you'd get it printed. It was very pigmented, but we found that sweet spot and we made it work. Um, and that was design, yeah, that was printing.
Sounds like a lot of work. I'm sure it was a lot of work. Manufacturing and like selling something online isn't as simple as people make it sound.
No, it really wasn't, yeah.
Yeah. What was it like? Like, what were your average sales like in terms of how many units were you selling out every single month? The 2 years that you were operational, or 1 year that you were operational, really?
There was also COVID in between, right? So
Yeah.
I think the second, or maybe no, the third lockdown, the strongest wave happened after my first collection sold out. So
Right.
production completely stopped then. When the Delta variant came in, for like
Yeah.
4 production was stopped. And when things started opening up post the lockdown, we had export houses that I was working with had so much pressure on them from international orders that they had to meet.
Yeah.
That like first they were anyway not taking me seriously. Now I was like a grain of sand in the sea, you know. Like I like
Yeah.
there was uh, they were not ready to cater to me, like full stop. I
Yeah.
had but I had like what I did do in those 4 5 months was I designed all the collections in advance. So
Right.
when I sold the pajamas, I got a lot of feedback saying that people want like tops with them. I started with only bottoms, only pajamas, but people wanted tops with them. So I worked
Right.
on the sizing of that. I learned how to design that, um, and that's how I spent those 4 5 months. And then after that, it restarted. So initially, obviously, I sold out really fast. It was like 400 something pajamas within the month. And then after that, it was, I'd say like 100 sets. Yeah, 110 sets a month post in the second collection onwards. Yeah.
Right.
But this was like there was so many more designs, there was so many more colors. So
Right.
like the first I launched with only 5 designs and only pajamas. And by the end of it, I think I have over like 30 35 designs and
Right.
different products. So yeah.
Oh, and did you and so it was just you working on this the entire time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't have a life. Like I told you, I was eating, sleeping, breathing, pajamas.
No, I completely agree with you. But last 4 years before coming to Imperial, I didn't have a life. I just worked
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
You get so engrossed. It's almost like you don't want to do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to continue doing that after Imperial? Do you see yourself doing it in any way?
Yeah, I'm open to it. Like I really loved being an entrepreneur. I thrive in sort of um, ambiguity. I love the challenge that comes with it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I would love to go back to it. The reason I came here was because I noticed that there was like a skill gap um, with wherein, you know, I didn't have any experience in entrepreneurship, in design, in anything. So I sort of wanted to address that skill
You
gap.
just did it for 2 years.
I did it for 2 years, but like there was still a skill gap, you
No,
know,
I get it.
to
What
address.
kind of skills are you looking to inculcate in the next year at Imperial?
Sorry,
What kind of skills are you looking to inculcate in the next year at Imperial?
what kind of skills am I looking to inculcate?
Like when you say you notice some skill gaps, so what do you mean by those?
By skill gaps, I mean like in terms of like I really work in a retail consultancy. So Imperial was sort of it's helping me as a stepping stone to work in the retail consultancy or like an FMCG brand where I understand um, production, retail, fashion on a larger scale, like 5 times the scale of what Jammies was. I understand how different production houses work, how do different brands work, what is branding. Branding is so underestimated, but what is the thought behind everything on a website or everything in a store? Um, I feel like there's no better way to learn than to work with people who've been there, done that. So for me, Imperial is like a stepping stone to get there. but yeah, within the year, I want to like develop like for example, design thinking to me is very interesting. Coming up with
Yes. Yeah.
to a problem, like to a problem that you can't think of a solution to actively. Like
Yeah.
it's really, really challenging.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see where that goes, and I think that would really help me. Like I don't have like a concrete like, oh, I want to build like my knowledge about this or that. Like there's no like there's very abstract skills that I'm sort of looking to develop. If that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Even I, for that matter, just wanted to be at the cutting edge of innovation and thinking towards entrepreneurship. That's really why I've applied to Imperial and see what is it that I don't know. So
yeah,
I don't have a list of things I want to learn.
I have like a ready list. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the other thing I was looking to do is just, surround myself with entrepreneurs like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That's really
And
uh, our cohort is so diverse, and everyone I feel like comes from such different backgrounds and has so much to contribute. No conversation is boring, and there's no conversation that I walk away from where I don't learn something. So
same.
I think that's such a big advantage of
Yeah, that's why everyone is like the IEM cohort across the years stands out because they're all such interesting people to talk to.
yeah,
They're always, very cohesive, very
yeah,
nice. I guess that's because we're all sort of like-minded in a way.
yeah,
Yeah, everyone's interested deeply interested in entrepreneurship, even if they're not pursuing it actively now. They have the similar types of traits, I would
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, right. I had a question. I was looking through your website, and it said that you serve clients across 8 countries or 7 countries. Were
Yeah.
you also exporting your pajamas?
Not exporting them, I was shipping them internationally.
How were you managing that? I imagine there must be like regulatory things to deal with, right? Like your import export code and whatnot. Did you
Mm.
not face that?
No, there was no such challenge. Like it was just I would just ship them like to whichever customer ordered it. I ship it to the address. They'd order
How
it
how were you shipping internationally?
uh, by like DHL, all these like shipping companies, like courier companies.
Right. And then what were your customers coming organically through Instagram, or what were your main marketing channels?
Also from like Blue Dart and stuff, like I just ship them. But
Right. Okay.
yeah, so this is actually very interesting. Uh, Instagram worked for me when the launch video came out. Obviously, because like I told you, we had like 16,000-17,000 organic views within 24 hours. But what very interestingly worked for me was in Delhi specifically, there are these like WhatsApp groups that are there for every colony, every residential area. And
Mm-hmm. Really? So the place where you lived, I know where you lived, that had a WhatsApp group of its own?
yeah, there were like 4 WhatsApp groups for just that place.
Oh, it's like a residential
True.
colony group. Oh
And
yeah, of course, yeah.
they're in like Scenic Farms, in Vasant Vihar, in like there's apartments in Gurgaon called Magnolias, Camellias, Aralias, all have their own. So there were all these sort of WhatsApp groups, and what I did was I either found someone on that group who I know, or I somehow found the link to the group and entered the group, trying to be a resident there. And I made these like short 10-second videos
That
with
is so genius. That is so genius. You know what? I was literally thinking this same idea a few months ago for a food brand I'm trying to launch. And I was like, would it be great if I had a WhatsApp group for every society in New Delhi and I could just get into those groups? And I said, but who would is that even a thing? I didn't know it's a thing until now.
yeah, no, it's a
That is
thing.
so
There
genius.
are all these WhatsApp groups, and what I would do is I would enter them, or I'd get someone to send a message there. And they're very like strict. Like they have days on which you can post like ads and stuff. So for example, Vasant has days Tuesday. So you can only post on Tuesday
Right.
for like things that you're selling, so that there's no spam on the group.
Right.
And so I made these like 10-second videos with like 3 liners, and I'd send the catalog of the product with it. Um, and so if on an average, if I'm posting on one group and I get like 20 inquiries and I even just convert 5-7 of them in a week, multiply that by like 10 groups, or like,
Yeah. 21 दिन में पैसा double.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing.
And then
I'm gonna try that.
so
What?
I had a lot of like repeated customers. So I had a lot of people who'd order one and then come back and order 2 or 3.
Right.
That was a lot of my sales.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. I feel, I mean, the camera doesn't allow, but I would love to give you a standing ovation and just so that is so amazing, because no one really thinks of those things, right? Because I have been thinking of what's like really low cost marketing things you can do at the start, because everyone wants to go to Instagram, make reels, and build those things that scale.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you can do that are really smart?
Yeah.
Give you a good ROI on your time.
Told you I was on a very tight budget, so I had no marketing budget. I literally had no budget for marketing. So I had to improvise. So international orders came from network. Like if, like, for example, one from Basant Vihar has ordered my product. Now her cousin in I got on like this, a cousin in Melbourne
Right.
wants Pyjama. So through that, because when you convert it into like dollars or pounds or anything, it's for them the price point is very low.
Right.
Which,
of course, yeah. They can just like buy 5 in a go, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it worked.
All right. That's amazing. Did you end up doing mostly like WhatsApp group marketing and then through your network, marketing through your network? Did you use any other channels actively apart from that?
It was Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Not even mine much, because like initially obviously had like friends buy pajamas, but after that only the ones that really wanted it would come back and buy it, like
Right. What was the sort of hierarchy within these 3 channels in terms of what drove the most sales? I imagine it must be WhatsApp throughout.
Yeah, WhatsApp drove the most. Instagram drove it first. The first collection, second collection onwards, it was WhatsApp.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The colony groups really worked for me. I recommend that a lot.
I'm going to steal that idea.
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm going to ask you a few colony groups to get into. That is so amazing.
But then again, there are a lot of women. It's like, for example, one is called something divas. So you're gonna maybe have like a little bit of a challenge getting in, but maybe I can help you by posting it. That's what I can do.
Where do friends come in, right? Where else do friends come in? That is so great. And all right. Is there anything else I should be asking you about this entire journey? I feel like I have a bottomless list of questions, but I must be letting you go at some point.
Yeah, no, I think we covered pretty much all of it. It was actually really fun because I haven't like sat and thought about everything in so long, and it was really fun to revisit the entire process.
I know, it was really fun for me to hear it.
Yeah, I'm glad.
And for the 4 followers of this podcast now, I'm sure they will enjoy it as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Great chatting with you, Sahaj. And thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.